Narcissism is often associated with arrogance, superiority, entitlement, and an intense need for admiration. But its deeper psychological roots can be far more complicated. Behind an outwardly confident personality may exist a fragile sense of self that depends heavily on external validation. Narcissistic patterns can develop through a combination of temperament, early relationships, emotional experiences, family dynamics, learned behavior, and environments where worth becomes connected to achievement, status, appearance, obedience, or admiration. In some cases, a person may have been excessively praised and taught that they are exceptional, while in other cases they may have experienced criticism, neglect, emotional inconsistency, or conditional acceptance. These experiences can produce very different outward behaviors, while contributing to a similar psychological problem: unstable self-worth. The individual becomes dependent on maintaining a particular image because the internal sense of identity does not feel secure enough on its own. Recognition provides temporary emotional stability, while criticism threatens that stability. This is why narcissistic reactions to criticism can appear disproportionately intense. What looks like simple arrogance may sometimes involve shame, humiliation, insecurity, or fear of exposure underneath. The person may exaggerate achievements, seek admiration, compete constantly, manipulate the perceptions, or diminish others, because maintaining superiority helps protect a vulnerable self-image. When another person succeeds, receives attention, or challenges their authority, it can feel psychologically threatening because the comparison may activate the fear of being ordinary, insignificant, or inadequate. The deeper psychology of narcissism involves the construction and protection of identity. A narcissistic person may become heavily invested in an idealized version of themselves and then organize their behavior around preserving that image. Relationships can become sources of validation rather than mutual connection. Other people may be valued according to how much admiration, status, attention, or emotional security they provide. When someone stops providing that validation, the relationship may suddenly lose importance. This can create cycles of idealization and devaluation in which people are first placed on a pedestal and later treated as disappointing or inferior. The underlying problem is often an inability to maintain a stable sense of worth that can survive imperfection. Healthy self-esteem allows a person to acknowledge weaknesses without feeling destroyed by them. Narcissistic defenses attempt to prevent that vulnerability by creating superiority, control, entitlement, or emotional distance. Understanding these roots does not excuse harmful behavior. Psychological causes can explain a pattern without removing personal responsibility for its consequences. Healing requires developing a more stable identity that does not depend entirely on admiration or control. It involves tolerating criticism without experiencing it as total humiliation, recognizing other people's needs without interpreting them as threats, and developing relationships based on mutuality rather than constant validation. The deepest transformation occurs when the person no longer needs to appear exceptional in order to feel worthy. They can admit mistakes without collapsing into shame. They can allow others to succeed without experiencing that success as personal defeat. They can accept that being ordinary in some areas does not make them insignificant as a human being. Beneath narcissistic defenses is often a struggle with vulnerability and self-worth. When those defenses become less necessary, genuine confidence can begin replacing the performance of superiority. True psychological strength does not require being above others. It comes from being secure enough to stand beside them without needing to dominate, impress, diminish, or control them.